Kairi! Welcome back to my channel, May Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about the series that I will not be finishing. These are all series that I've started within the last couple years, and for one reason or another, they're just not working out for me, and I've deemed that they're just not worth the time that it would take to continue them. As all book lovers know, especially people on BookTube, there are so many books that we want to get to, and we just have so little time when it comes to the grand scheme of things. And while I am horrible at DNFing, which I've talked about on my channel before, I need to get better and learn how to do that. What I can do is guard my time by cutting off series that I think just aren't going to work for me. If some of these books are your favorite books, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. It's not a personal attack that I don't like them or hate them in some cases. It doesn't mean that I hate or dislike you. So I just wanted to get that out of the way in the beginning of this video. The first one on this list is the most recent read here, and that is Red Queen. Now, I read this book as part of my Retro Reads BookTube challenge on my channel. If you don't know what that is, it's when I put older, popular backlist books into this cup behind me, and I pull one out every month to see what I think of the more backlist favorites. Now, Red Queen was on my worst books of the year list. I gave it 2 stars, and essentially that's because it was just entirely forgettable. I don't have any hatred towards this book, and I didn't hate it when I was reading it. It was an okay time reading it, but I think as soon as the audiobook finished, I forgot every character's name. I don't even remember the name of the world or the factions that are fighting each other. It just didn't work for me in that regard. I do think that if I read it when I was younger, like if I was 15, 16 reading this book, I would have ate this shit up. But now that I'm older, the not like others girls syndrome that this book has, just, I was not gonna continue this story. The main character is already so special and not like other girls, I can't imagine how it could get worse, but I did talk to some other people who continued with this series and said that the second book is worse, and I just have no desire to put myself through that, so this series will not be finished. The second one is the Iskari series, the first book being the Last Namsara. I read this book out of just pure curiosity. It was on my, recommended to me on my audiobook recommendations. You know what I'm trying to say. It was recommended to me by the algorithm. So I decided that I would give it a shot. I think I ended up giving this book 3 stars, 2.5 maybe. Maybe 2, I don't remember. I'll put it up here because I'll look it up later. Good job editing, Taylor. But for this series, I remember feeling like the writing was beautiful and the idea of stories having power and words having power is a theme that I really enjoy, and this book did a good job with that. But it gave no shits about the fantasy world that this theme took place in. I still have no mental picture of where any of this book took place and how that world functions. And for me, as a world-building nut, I love it. That was a huge portion of this book that was missing for me. In this world, dragons love the old stories, so she uses these old mythical stories to pull dragons to her, to draw them to her, and then she kills them. However, everything is not as it seems, and then our story starts from there. Again, the concept is really good, but the application of that concept was just not up to par. The third book on this list is any other book in the Simon-verse. Now, I read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda again as part of my Retro Reads BookTube challenge, and I did end up giving that book 4 stars. I thought Simon was very lovable, I thought it was a very cute story, and I could understand why this book meant so much to the LGBTQ+ community on BookTube. However, I heard that the second book, Leon the Offbeat, the second book in this world, was not well received. It pissed a lot of people off because of the bi representation, and I just don't want to read a book that I know has poor bi representation. Why would I put myself through that? So I just don't have the desire to read more YA contemporary in this world. I think Simon was good enough for me. The fourth book here is The Darkest Minds, also from my Retro Reads BookTube challenge. I did discover some good books through this challenge, so they're not all bad, but this video is obviously focusing on the ones that didn't work. I gave The Darkest Minds 2 stars. Again, like Red Queen, this is a dystopian novel, and I think that if I read it when I was 15, 16, I would have ate this shit up as well. But because I'm reading it when I'm 28 and I have a much higher expectation for my fantasy, this book was it just fell flat. In this series, we follow kids who have superpowers, like mind reading, mind control, setting things on fire, levitating things, pretty powerful powers. And basically the entire world is terrified of them, so they put them in concentration camps. And then our main character gets out, and our story starts from there. However, the magic system does not blend well with the world at all. The kids never seem to use these powers to their advantage, even when they're free to do so. And the plot twists at the end were just, I mean, it was really, really obvious who the bad guy was going to be. So, you know, again, just really, really flat. I did talk about The Darkest Minds and Red Queen and the ones from my Retro Reads BookTube challenge in my Retro Reads wrap-up. I'll be sure to link it up above and down below. So if you want to know more detail as to why these books fell flat for me and maybe see if they're worth the time for you, I would definitely check out that video. The fifth book here is Crazy Rich Asians. Now, I read this via audiobook maybe back in the summer, and I'd heard that it was funny and lighthearted and really enjoyable. However, for me, this book was just not funny. I don't know if it just doesn't match my humor well or what was going on there, but I didn't chuckle even once, like just a little bit during this. I also hated all of the characters. They're all insufferable, even our main character. And I know that the ridiculousness of these characters is supposed to be part of the humor and part of the charm, but it just didn't strike me as charming. A lot of the characters did tons of bitchy gossiping throughout this book, and I know that that's supposed to, again, show this culture, this super rich Asian culture, and maybe add some humor to the way the gossiping took place. But bitchy gossiping just annoys me. Like, I just couldn't get on board with it. So I was basically annoyed the whole time I read this book. The one thing I did enjoy was the exploration of the lavish lifestyle of these people. So when the descriptions of these rich, gigantic houses was so entertaining and enthralling. And so I really did enjoy the environment that it was placed in, but I didn't enjoy any of the people placed in that environment. I did check my Goodreads review, and I wrote at the bottom that I'm interested in reading the next one eventually, but I think just after sitting on this book for as long as I have, that's just not gonna happen, so. The next book on this list is Middle Game by Shawnee Maguire. I did also mention this in my worst books video, my worst books of 2020. So, you know, if you've seen that video, you know my thoughts. But essentially, I love Shawnee Maguire, and I really, really wanted to love this book. Her Way with Children series is one of my favorites. She has a new one coming out this month in that series, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But this book was just a huge letdown for me. I gave this book 2 stars because I was just kind of lost the whole time. Like, there was no part of this book that I really found myself enjoying the experience. I was just kind of floundering the whole time. And I think that had to do with a lot of the concepts that Shawnee Maguire kind of tried to cram into this book. We follow a set of twins, Roger and Dodger, and it kind of follows them throughout their life. They're supposed to represent the 2 halves of like reality or the universe. So one of them, I forget which one, is really good at math and numbers, and the other one is really good at language and that kind of artistic thinking. And the 2 of them basically, it goes throughout their life, and they're clearly connected in some way, shape, or form, even though they live separately from each other, but they like fight this connection. And then there's some big evil society who wants to utilize them to take over the world. Yeah, clearly I don't remember too much about the details of this plot. Like I said, I love Shauna Maguire's whimsical world building and her writing style, so you would think that taking on, ideas of the universe, I would enjoy her playing with those concepts, but for some reason, I just really didn't. It was just a miss for me. But I do know a lot of people who love this book, so, even though I'm not going to continue with this series, I know a lot of people who adore it, so I would definitely check it out for yourself before you decide. Next book on this list is Serpent Dove. This was a YA romantic fantasy, a romance fantasy that was super, super popular. I don't remember when, but at some point during 2020 on BookTube. It was everywhere, everyone was reading it, so the hype got to me and I picked it up. I think after immediately reading this book I gave it 4 stars, but I'm pretty sure that's because I felt some kind of semblance of the hype still within me. But as I reflect on this book and think about, the characters in it, it's definitely a 3-star book for me. The characters were pretty annoying. I appreciate a very brash and humorous main female character, which we did get, but sometimes it was taken a little bit too far. But the main thing that annoyed me was the male character. Oh, I can't remember his name. It'll come to me later. Or I'll put it on the screen. He was the character that I did not enjoy at all. He is just like vanilla ice cream, cardboard, the plainest character ever. In this world, witches are considered to be evil, so he is a witch hunter, and then our main female character is a witch. And then through some circumstances, they end up in a forced marriage. They both hate each other, and neither of them want to be in this situation, but of course it's an enemies to lovers story, so things go from there. I felt no connection between the main character and him. There were no sparks for me. So the romance part of this book was just a dud for me, and it just didn't work. The reason that this book still has 3 stars, or initially I think it was 4, is because I liked the concepts explored in the book, and I loved the kind of side characters that we got to see. There's another character who's a blood witch, and I was so interested to learn more about her. I wish we had focused more on her than the main romance, honestly. And the magic system that she kind of represented was super, super interesting. I was very interested in the witches. But being interested in one aspect of a book where like the core romance isn't working for me isn't enough to make me want to pick up the next book. So I know that the second book recently came out or is coming out soon. I've seen some hype around it, but I just won't be jumping on the hype train this time. Next we have Serpent Dove. The next book is The Gilded Wolves. I read this book probably over a year ago, and I got like a really cheap copy, so I was really excited to pick it up. But this book was just disappointing. Kind of like Middle Game, I think the author took on too many things that they wanted to put into their story, and that didn't allow them to take enough time to focus on any one of those aspects. So they kind of ended up getting jumbled together or lightly touched on, and none of them were deeply explored. I did really enjoy the setting of this story, and I love me a heist. So I love when different personalities have to come together to pull off a heist or a common goal, and that aspect was here. However, the parts of the heist or the puzzles that they had to solve were so easy. Like, as a reader, I could solve them almost right away, and to have the characters still be sitting there like, what could this mean, really pulled me out of the story, because I was just sitting there like, how can you not see the obvious answer to this? And these characters are supposed to be brilliant, and that's why they're able to pull off this heist. You done? So that inconsistency really lessened my enjoyment as well. Which means that I will not be going on to the next book, which is, I think, The Silvered Serpents. Alright, this video has gone on way longer than I expected it to, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split this in half. So I'll do the second part of this list in a video coming soon, so look out for that. But that means that this concludes the first part of the series I will not be finishing. Go ahead and leave some comments down below if you feel similarly to me for these series, or if you disagree with me. I'd love to chat with you guys. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Jenny!